Which has been part of the that's a state-driven, stakeholder-driven water planning document that came out last year. I think the previous one had been 2020, somewhere in that vicinity. But part of that identified that issue with the groundwater in the community. And those council plans are used specifically for the state water plan, which recently Governor McMaster presented that draft at the state level. And the point of that plan is to provide guidance with precedent growth of Marion County and the rest of the state have been seeing. And the recommendations in there say that when we have a large water user, we need to evaluate using peak demand, not average water. Drought performance, what's the drought performance going to be like? And just cumulative groundwater impacts overall. And so based on that guidance, there's a few questions that I'd like to hear. But I think a lot of us here kind of in the dark a little bit. I know that's how this thing generally goes. There's not a lot of information at the beginning of this process, but I think people in here have a lot of questions. It's one of a lot of speculation. I think it would be good for us to know what is the primary water source it's going to use, what's the projected peak, not average daily water demand or water demand overall. What specific aquifers are being used, and if any, what cooling technology processes are being used, and how they perform during the drought conditions. I think what's really important here for Marion County, at least it ties back to my work, and this is specifically stated in the state water plans, that if these kind of things aren't taken into account, considering the amount of growth and water demand being brought into the state, and the state of aquifers, we could see things like over allocation of groundwater, reduced drought resilience, conflict with water users, and I think the big kicker is decreased flood and water quality issues. A lot of times we think groundwater is just for supply purposes with drinking, but you're in the coastal plain, specifically to a Fiji river, that baby flow that relies by them. And if for whatever reason over allocated continues to decline, we're going to see dry riverbeds during drought times. We've seen a lot of that recently. And it seems counterintuitive that often when riverbeds are dry, you're much more likely to get flash flooding. The ground is going to be more compact, less likely to take water. So it's definitely something to consider as we go on voting tonight. And I would just like to ask for Marion County as a citizen and in my work with Wind Artists Alliance, just for some more time to discuss this issue and maybe consider something about all tonight. Maybe having more time to be a little more transparent with the community about what we're seeing with this project. Thank you guys for your time.
I have a question. You mentioned that there's an occupancy plan.
If you look at the 2020 groundwater report for the PD capacity use report for the groundwater evaluation, they have documented and defined going back to maybe mid-80s. There's several graphs on that using monitoring wells. I think the one for Marion is in like Gresham and Ritten's Neck area, and even in Dillon County. Of course, the way the officers work is we charge areas further inland, and then it slowly moves down towards the coast. So it could be that's affected by wells further inland, but also, overuse as well can contribute to that. And, at least in that report, they said that they started to see that decline after further development.
By agricultural uses.
I mean, I would have it. overall. And, you know, it's one of those things that you need to take into consideration, and people much more well-versed in that kind of work, that work with other people. And the reason I bring this up, these issues, is because they're in state work. That were brought up, but I mean, almost certainly you see wire, you know, so people are asking for the law, so, you know, we got and stand in the middle, that people were having thought. I mean, I'm sure it's something, to some degree, that's got to have. Let's imagine one rain. You know, it's getting worse, it seems like, more and more pricing. Yes, sir. Yeah,
Okay, once we ask a question,
no, sir.
try to explain some of the questions.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Chairman, just to respond to, question about the, water usage during the, peak hours, I, do not have an answer for that. But I do know, as I mentioned before, we met with, Barco Water Company, who, provide the water for the county here. And, Project Liberty, engineers, then approximately how much water will be used on an average daily average, and it's about 7,175 gallons per day. That's about equivalent to a regular office side operation. So with this data center, as we know, some of the older data centers use a lot more water than the newer data centers because of the technology and the cooling system that they use with the data center that's being proposed here in Marion would use a lot less water. Nothing like 1 million gallons a day was referenced by the previous speaker. So
I think that was 7,000 per building.
okay, that's correct, per building.
So we're talking 500 acres. Land.
Yeah, but if you talk about buildings, and we have Mr. Santiago Escobar, who is the project leader here with Project Liberty, that can speak more to that if you would like to. We're talking about how many buildings?
6 total.
6 total.
But I would say 3, phase 1, phase 2 is a future potential.
Thank you.
Right.
Is there any question that you want to address? Would you like to address the question that you had? The question that you had is comment?
No, you do. I think yes, sir.
Mr. Sam Burns.
And trying to learn of the old building county. I do have concerns about how going in and the information given to the public. I would like to see how that kind of body to inform the public that the district will all the vaccines and that. And Right.
The LT,
People here, people listen, will subscribe to Fitz News. Because Fitz News had a hearing on a data center down in the lower part of the county. There were hundreds of people there. And the senator of the South Carolina was there testifying against the data center. He talked about at least electricity. He was doing 40 homes. And I guess that was for the 7,000 gallons. But what came out of that hearing, they had done all these extensive studies and looking at environmental and things. But I think what we're really talking about is AI and data centers. And we all know from all the things we've heard on TV that AI is going to suck up energy. It's going to probably need data centers. And what's going to happen is, as it sucks up energy, it's going to be competing with us. And this is from the other side of the party. But Trump said, great, we need infrastructure in this county. We need it in the state. Why don't you have them come in and supply their own energy? And they can easily do that. Their nuclear subs have been doing it for 40 years. And they now have, I've forgotten what the term is. Yeah, small nuclear reactors. We've got a nuclear expert right here in Marion County, Professor Marion. He can come and talk to you about it. But these small nuclear reactors, they could easily do. They could, with one nuclear reactor, we could have all the electricity for Marion County. So sure, have them bring on their own electricity and we'll buy it back for them rather than having alternate power. See, they can't use alternate power. They can use solar because they've got to have consistent power. AI doesn't work. I don't know much about that. I don't know much about what we're saying. I was talking and saying, do you think this could be a data center? I saw it on Fitz News. I can't believe that he's doing it. You know, I'm saying, hey, I'm stunned. I don't really know what to tell you other than, hey, wait a minute. Let's have a discussion. Let's have a workshop. We're going to have it on this setting. But let's have a workshop where we can really get in and investigate stuff and have some dialogue back and forth on an informal setting. Because this is pretty great. I understand it's $800 million. Something like that, a big investment. And they're not going to do that for no reason. So let's take our time in getting there. Marion County has a lot of water issues. We have stormwater issues. Anyhow, there's a lot of things that we're interested in Marion County and seeing it get better. And seeing it get better for the elderly, because the tax base can increase on young folks. But what's going to happen is what happened in Horry County. it's going to increase on the elderly. And then the elderly are gonna say, hey, stop, let's stop everything. And that's not the way to go, stop everything. I think what we need to do is painful. So that's what I'm asking. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I can, respond to one of the, points about, the infrastructure and the data center, should, pay for all the infrastructure, for this, project. That is the case. Matter of fact, there's a bill that has been filed, in the Senate that will, mandate, going forward that, data centers will pay for their own infrastructure. But aside from that, that is part of the agreement now with, MPD, like the co-op and Project Liberty. Any infrastructure needs as it relates to this project, Project Liberty will bear the cost. It will be no cost to the local taxpayers, zero cost. And speak to, what it would generate for the county. The worst case scenario, if they invest $400 million and then $100 million towards the land, it would generate $1.2 million per year to Marion County in taxes. And they have to meet that threshold before they can even get there. And so, but in phase one, it's even more than that. It's like 800 million in phase one, 800 million in phase two, providing the results in there, if possible, 3 phases. And if it's fully, right, that was fully, project fully come online, it would generate like $28 million a year in taxes in Marion County. Our total budget here in this county is only $25 million. So if this project reach its full potential, it could generate as much as $28 million a year to this county. Do you all know what that means or what that can do for this county? When we talk about infrastructure, we talk about our schools, we talk about public safety, we talk about EMS, our roads, our bridges. It would mean a lot. No, it does not create a lot of jobs, but when you look at the investment, you got someone that's going. We're not talking about millions here. We're talking about billions. This is a significant investment, and they're being there. Not only by this county, but also by commerce. And this hasn't just started. It's been going on for the past 6 or 7 months. And so it's just like anything else. Just like we did any other type manufacturing or industry that wanted to tell you, this is what we do. And we do our due diligence, commerce, due diligence, decent is also involved. And so we just do our due diligence, and by no means given third reading here tonight means that this project is automatically going to happen. There's still a lot of work yet to be done and a lot of due diligence that will go on for quite some time. Just really good to share with. I'm gonna get it ready.
Go to the next person.
Thank you, Nick.
The Raven Scott.
And I know a lot about this, but in fact, I haven't pretty much on it at all, which is a concern because it seems to be humongous, money wise. So, but one of the concerns I probably have, and some of this is going to be okay, is such as high demand for electricity. How is that going to affect the people as far as what they're paying for electricity eventually. Is there gonna be eminent domain? Are we gonna be taken away? From others who own farmland, et cetera. Also, I'm concerned about the water, as has been mentioned. But again, that's repetitive, but I have a great concern about water. And also in contracts, I'm fearful that some of this might be, okay, we'll use this amount of water, but then later they may need, 5 years later, they may need 25% more. And so, could that be a potential problem? Things like that. I mean, and you can dig down really deep into this and ask questions and then questions on questions. This reasons down to where it's really complicated. But I guess I want to say that I'm excited about the opportunity, but I'm also nervous about the company coming in and hopefully not taking advantage of the situation. But I appreciate y'all letting me speak, and thank y'all for everything you do.
I can respond, as it relates to the electricity, of course, Marlboro PD Electric Co-op is the provider, will be the provider for this project with the formation with Santee Cooper. And we've met with them on several occasions. They've sat down with Project Liberty and everybody else involved. And what they assured us is that we asked the same question. I realize we did it too. We're part of this community and we want what's best for Marion County. And that's what we advocate and that's what we work towards. But what we were told that it would be no additional cost to the ratepayer. The ratepayers would not have to bear this cost for construction for Project Liberty. Anything, it could possibly marginalize and rates could go down for the ratepayers in that service area. So really, there's really no cost to the taxpayers here in this county, believe it or not, but it's almost like I like to use, and then I'll talk about eminent domain. There's definitely no eminent domain that will be taking place here because the property is owned by Marlboro PD Electric Co-op in Marion County. So there will be no eminent domain. But this is almost like playing the lottery and not having to pay for the lottery ticket up front. But then you hit the lottery, you win the lottery, and then you get paid billions, and then you pay your $10,000 for the lottery ticket. It's kind of like that. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But there will be no financial burden, as we've been told, and through all the vetting that we've done. We don't see any financial burden there. I mean, we don't see what we really have to lose by vetting this project.
No questions?
No question.
No questions? No.
Person.
That's it. That's it.
Everybody, you are sensitive.
Gentlemen, for here, we will go to the review. We'll second, a motion of discussion, discussion.
I really do appreciate everybody coming. And I wish, anytime you do a little fun, economic development, all I'm gonna tell you is, you're not allowed to go out and tell everybody up front until you get down months and months and months. Because
When
They
they
might not
get,
even come, or not, when they find out their names been disclosed and things, they might just pull up me. But that's just not what it's done. And that's one reason that a lot of times you may not know all the things that we are trying to get, because 90% of, almost 95% don't ever come. And Zach can attest to that. That's just the bad part about it. It'd be nice to tell you everything, every time, but that's just not the real world. We can't do it. And we better not do it with this discussion executive session. If somebody's coming out and telling y'all all kinds of stuff up front about this man, that's against the law. So we're not allowed this stuff later. And sometimes you could bring it up here, but you still can't name names and do all those things.
Mr. Chairman, I can add to that, that's a very important point. It's called NDA, non-disclosure agreement that we have to sign, saying we cannot disclose certain information, and we are held to that.
All in favor? Aye. For likewise? Ayes have it. County and members of council, we have, this is a music resolution, typically what always, measures that we do all the time, is one position happening. Before you give third reading, have to pass the constitutional resolution by statute. So this is a resolution authorizing the execution of delivery fee in lieu of tax and incentive agreement by South Carolina County. People Myra LLC, company previously identified as Project Liberty, or the company and for itself, or affiliates, and or other project sponsors, Carolina County shall covenant to accept certain negotiated fees and lieu of animal taxes and respect to, and with respect to the establishment and or expansion of certain facilities in the county related to the project, benefits of multi-county industrial business park be made available to the company and project, certain special revenue credits in connection with project and other matters. We pass that condition resolution for you.
So, that, motion, a second, any discussion? I think, I agree with, the general sense of the folks saying we need to slow down, on this particular project. For us, we've only received in the last day or two important documents related to this project that we need to familiarize ourselves with to be able to make a truly informed decision on this particular project. The questions raised by the water issues, the gentleman talking about aquifer decline, we don't still have a general sense of what the initial water use will be required. Because I understand that the data center has to pump in a certain amount of water to get it started, and then you use these other amounts of databases to replenish what evaporates or what just get out of the system. So we are not truly fully informed on this. I'm not necessarily against this project, but I think we need to have more information with them. Because it's such a long-term public, we've been expressing interest in getting more informed on this. We should give them that opportunity before we agree to do something that we can't walk back away from. This is still too much information that we don't know the public knows. That I think the public deserves to know, particularly our farmers who have concerns about the irrigation dwelling, that we do, and the effect by the opposite. This project takes on such a long time, where the initial phase and the experience.
More discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
For likewise?
Nay.
Ayes have it. Item 8. Ordinance. All right, this is where I'm going to talk about it. So, I have already, if we can, if I can ask for a question, to eliminate this, this ordinance, this what we have going on down here. But I can't have the practice to do that.
So moves. Second. Got a motion, got a second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Likewise. I've had it.
Item B, third reading of ordinance 2025-08, this is the one we have public hearing for last week. An ordinance to authorize the execution of delivery of a special revenue credit agreement by between Marion County, South Carolina, County, and the panels and one of the city company previously that we had Marion, acting for itself, one more affiliates, and one other project investors in the company, right for certain special revenue credits in connection with the establishment and or expansion of certain facilities county related to the project benefits of both county and certain special revenue credits made available to the company project and other matters related there too. You have a full copy of that ordinance in front of you. We have action.
So second. Got a motion, got a second, any discussion? I want to thank Project Marion for being patient with us, getting this done. They have some needs that we're trying to address in the time now, which is stuff like that. And I think that might this opportunity brings more jobs. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Likewise.
I'm seeking this is second reading of ordinance 2025-09 and board of authorizing and ordinance 2024-04. You have a full copy of that. In front of you.
So, yeah. Motion got a second in discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Likewise. Guys have it.
Both item D and E were on hold until the hearing was held on February 10th meetings. We those early then. That was the item F, second reading of ordinance 2025-23. An ordinance authorizing the county to convey a transmission line easement to South Carolina Public Service Authority of that certain area of Marion County tax parcel number 044-00-00-282-000 as shown on the exhibits attached here to and such consideration as shown as well. We've got a full copy of that.
So, second. Got a motion, got a second for discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Likewise, guys have it.
Item G, second reading of ordinance 2025-14, ordinance authorizing the county to pay the transmission line to South Carolina Public Service Authority for that certain area of Marion County tax parcel 1.055-00-271-000 showing the exhibits attached here and such consideration as shown as well. We'll copy of that one.
Second. Motion, got a second for discussion. I want to thank our staff members who worked on both of these, ordinances that were adopted, business license and the, weather and damage prevention. We're doing a lot of work over almost 2 years. And, we got something good because, on good side. Aye. Likewise, guys have it.
Item H, third reading of ordinance 2026-01, ordinance authorizing the execution of the legal tax and incentive agreement. And company identified the time being project. Facilities in the county, project, benefits of both county industrial business park are available to the company and project, search special revenue credits in connection with the project. We take action on third reading. This is one we just had a full copy of.
Second. Motion, got a second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Likewise, guys have it.
Item I, at the last meeting that was asked to table that matter, here would be some other things we need to consider on that, so that is sitting there until we get that figured out in the future.
No question. Moving forward, we're just going to.
We did April, but I was talking about.
F and G are the same too?
No, One is for parcel 044, and the other one's on that 055. And they are linked together, yes, but they're on two different parcels, so they have to separate those back. There were two different ordinances.
Okay, so I was confused by this, the item, so H was a third reading of the ordinance for private liberty. Well, I want to give folks, vote no, most of this, my understanding, because both of these G and E, F and G were the same language in the order, so I thought this is still on this.
I understand what you're saying, but I bet that might be correct. All right, so that takes us to item J, second reading of ordinance 2026-03. Ordinance authorizing you see, I just talked about how we were tabling because I was asking y'all to table that last meeting.
Could we get some more information to come to Joel?
Yeah, you were the one that brought it up last meeting. Awesome.
Yeah.
To table that matter until we get more information.
That's what I did, but I most of we didn't agree, it's just that.
No, it's already been paid.
You tabled it in the last meeting.
Yeah, okay, so,
Yeah.
so that's just confusing, and it's on the agenda.
But because we don't take it off, it stays there until you get that other information. Well, you want to remove it, you can do that too. Doesn't matter.
No, I'm just because, like I said, two F and G got me confused because it's the same way.
Sure.
We went straight to H, which is the data center project, and then saying we take out I and then J. And I was trying to read I and see what it was, and move on to J before I could see what I was at the same state.
Sure. Is there any information you can bring us at our next meeting so we can discuss and understand a little more? I think some people have some questions on the debate.
Yeah, well, there's some confusion about the process of the ordinance that I don't want to get involved in. We have to adopt the ordinance to adhere to the daily bill to give the taxpayer that option to do this. And they still have to come request what they're asking for, just because we adopt an ordinance to use the daily bill on these specific projects for historic reasons. That doesn't mean you automatically are saying this project that asked you to do this, you're giving this to them on that. You still have to enter each one of them into it, and it's fairly it's a fairly comprehensive process because there's a lot of things that staff have to do in order to adhere to the requirements of the daily bill. So it's not just an easy kind of thing. So I agree tabling and getting more information is important. But I don't really have any more information other than the ordinance that we have. I could get that, I can get that all. But it really just breaks out the statute.
In our correspondence with the group that were interested, there seemed to be a timeline, or do you remember? You remember exactly how that went out?
Not exactly. There's always a timeline, but then there's your timeline. Council, but, and we kind of vetted this, request, and we, gathered some more information that I believe is council, okay? At the appropriate time, at the next council meeting. Good. That way you can be better informed and make more informed decision.
Question for the attorney on that bill, is it a bill that the city itself has to adopt before we adopt ours and pass it?
Well, I wouldn't say it that way. For a property that is existing in the city limits that wants to take advantage of this, yes, the city would also have to adopt a daily bill ordinance to put into place the process to pass it under that bill. Yes.
But do they have to pass their bill before we introduce our bill?
Yeah. There are two independent, because you've got the county collection and assessment and the city assessment. But for a property in a city limit, qualify, yes, both the town, city, and the county would have had to adopt this type of ordinance to have it.
And this would only apply to new projects, correct?
It's actually historic process. It's limited to, so.
Yeah, but then,
Yes.
someone who's doing historic projects,
Right, renovate historic
but
projects.
if someone has, let's say, renovated historic projects years ago, they couldn't.
I haven't read that far into the statute. I wouldn't imagine that would work that way, but I don't want to say that without looking into that. But this topic came up, what, 2 months ago, that's the first I've heard. I haven't been exploring that. I've been so busy with everything else I've been doing today. I was trying to.
Whole item J, I think we were in discussion, item J also being tabled on the whole part of the information for the county.
Yeah, I could do that. You wish to do that.
Do I need to make a motion to table it? So.
Now, got a motion, got a second, any other discussion, table J, I think this property. Needs to be approved. How? Because what, that number, that dollar amount that was agreed on, that was, we don't know what that was based on, that's certain previous. Negotiated with that entity. So you're selling something that's an asset, very valuable asset, very great location, not too far from 501, and other major roadways. You're gonna sell it, it needs to be approved first. Councilman Crawford?
And not to forget, it isn't our liability. But I just feel like there's more that we can go and deal and go and find out about and reaching out to other companies that's in the same line of search before we would decide to opt out to this one person on the recommendation of previous administration.
And we had a discussion about this at the last meeting. What was your comment about?
I think Mr. Fox was just, alluded to it. One thing, it's a liability, it's a huge liability. And, of course, that land is almost invaluable. Only thing that's really working is the tower, and this company, has an interest in it, and they've all, negotiated with, the previous, administration, to acquire. And, get rid of the liability, and then, of course, what, they negotiated, the previous, administration, is it worth more? I don't know. I can't answer that question. But I know it's a huge liability, and you can't do anything with the land. So.
I guess my other part of the question, what do we need to do? How much time will it take? We got somebody interested in doing it, may not be anybody else at all. What would be something we could do to maybe look at both sides? Maybe a year or send out information.
We can do that, but that took some time. And I heard, Councilor Rogers mention about getting a place. Whatever this council decides, whatever you want to tell us to do, that's what we'll do.
Well, I don't have a problem with it. It's an asset, we can see what, but it might be no big deal.
Any more discussion? Favorite table and J, say aye.
Aye.
Who likewise? Guys have it.
All right.
Committee report. Committee number one, and next time.
Committee number two, that's
We will update.
I don't have anything in this section.
Administrative update.
And so, Mr. Chairman, of the council, two things I would like to share with you. Just that, we don't have any new, new update on the capital sales tax project. I do want to, talk about that a little bit. In front of you, you should have, a document that, shows you all the, capital sales tax projects that, we have ongoing. And it'll tell you what the original budget is. And then the next column will show you the actual expenditures. And then, the last column will be the budget variance, what they spent, what was the original budget. And you can see, several of them have been completed and some have not been completed. And so, I just wanted to share that with you. And I believe this capital sales tax project will sunset, I believe, May of 2027, somewhere thereabouts. I wanted to get it on your radar because if you are interested in doing another capital sales tax project after this one sunset, and I think we need to start moving in that direction. You know, the process of getting with the different municipalities and townships and seeing what project they might be interested in doing in the next capital sales tax project. If you all decide to have one, and of course you have to have a referendum. And so it seems to me if you were going to do that, November might be the time you want to have a referendum, have that in place. So when the 2027 sunset, and we can, and I might need some legal clarification on that.
Yeah, there are some pretty stringent rules on the time of getting that started. And it's coming up pretty quick. We would have to decide when we can get that one.
That was right. That was right.
Mr. Chair, it was a hard deadline day, or I'm gonna know.
Mr. Tweedy,
But sir,
I evidently went to sleep at the wheel. I see, I have a little money left. Can I spend it now?
oh, I'll have to call you. Well, I mean, that's what it is. What it is.
Okay,
To answer your question, yeah.
I'll get together with our council. At $85,000 to do a
Well,
lot
I
of
bet they
that.
had an alternate. Right.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Take the word clear, friendship, awesome.
Yeah, we have an alternate project. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention so we can be thinking about that and how we want to proceed. Mr. McLean will get to the actual deadline when we can start that. So I want to mention that to you. The other thing is, I just want to make you aware, you all know we did a TAN, tax anticipation note. And I just want to let you know that note has been satisfied in its entirety. It has been taken at two.
That's great.
Yeah, good. Just want to make you aware. Felt like you would want to know that. I believe that is it. Mr. Chair, oh yeah. And also you got to save the date for the Project Marlin, ribbon, groundbreaking, I should say, please put that on your calendar. And we will give you, more information as that, date draws near. Mr. Chairman, I believe.
What time is?
We don't have that,
Not know yet. Currently, we just have to say the date.
yeah, we know it's that day, we don't have it specific time, like that, but we'll get that to you, Councilman Turner, as soon as we get that information, we'll share it with you. We like groundbreaking, we like ribbon cutting, when we're creating jobs. Very, oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Questions or comments by members of council?
You know, I got one, it really worked out good, we got a full house. When we did the first, once it settled down, I was completely against it. But I knew that some people would get facilities, couldn't afford to do it because they didn't have the recurring expenses. And we just did, our gym in Mullins, for the ones that don't know. We'd have never been able to get heat and cool, nice restrooms and nice facilities. It hadn't been that one. And I believe, I'm correct, 30 to 40% of that money really comes from tourism. So we get people coming in every day, whatever they do, to help supply us with those extra things that we have. Our tennis sports about 40 years old. Couldn't tell them. Now we have people every day. We got pickleball courts, Senator. We got 6 pickleball courts. We got more going on over that halfway to Farmington we've ever had. But there's gonna be a referendum maybe. So we don't need everybody's support to do the same thing again, because without that money, I mean, it would have been pitiful for us. And I know Marion got almost 2 million for recreation and things, and then the detention center and other things. It's really a big deal. Like I said, I voted against the first time, but thank the Lord that we had it done.
Yeah, Sabrina, Ms. Harris brought up something that you want to put on our agenda for a February meeting,
Yes, sir. He's asking for a proclamation from.
proclamation of Cecil Ford.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to move that be put on our agenda.
I think it.
You talking about Cecil Ford coach?
Yeah.
He coached me, ha ha ha. Yeah, whoa. I'm coming to work.
For those of the council members and people in the audience that don't know, we had an employee that lost his house fire in December. Jessica, he was on the longer road. Please keep him in our prayers. I work at fire. The fire takes a lot of, and I haven't had an opportunity to speak with Jessica. But any of y'all, if you get a chance, please do. You know, like I said, it takes a lot. We're just like Virtual Fire Department, they're taking donations for, Pepper. Or, reach out, we can get you that number, call the administration office, maybe give you, phone number for, the fire department, Virtual. They're taking up those young kids, it was a total loss on the fire structure. And, they need our support. Couple of things, Mr. Attorney, you said we replaced on the agenda, item 8 for something else further down. What?
It was a 2026.
So what are we talking about? Project, what was Project Goose? Was somehow subsumed into H.
Not really. The origination of Project Liberty made it so that you didn't need Project East.
So are we still, my question is, are we still at the county providing 133 acres of land for this project?
But it's already not the company.
So did they buy it from
We transferred it to them based on that.
and they are selling it
They're selling it based on the contract, yes.
and they're keeping up the profit?
Free contract doesn't say.
You got it?
How long that? I can get it.
So I was going back to these groups, I was trying to understand that the last thing why Project Goose was still on the agenda.
I mentioned to you then, the reason that we're taking it off then is because we need to finish it. Make sure that we will meet the deadline that the legislature was trying to establish. I don't know if they passed.
So
That was the
then,
whole reason that came under.
so the sale of this property took place.
Transfer of the property to the deed took place back in 24.
And that agreement was based on use
That agreement was based on,
or title.
it was two of them, if you recall, so the project name changed kind of halfway through. It started, I think it started at 9.
So when did this change from, when did that part get put into Liberty?
Liberty took its place. Goose has nothing to do with Liberty. We don't need Goose anymore because we have Liberty. That makes sense.
For Pit Mine Road, you got that ruling for the special example?
I sent an email to the special referee and to the attorney, Chris Pierce, to handle that on behalf of the links. The special referee immediately responded and says, I'm gonna let Chris answer that. He has not responded to me. I called the office day before yesterday and today, and I can't get anybody to get an answer. So
I received a call from a constituent, was going to go down Pit Mine Road to go see their grandmother's grave from cemetery. And now they can't get access to their homes. So what do they do?
I don't have that. It's not a county road anymore. I mean, by statute, cemeteries allow access. No one can refuse their access. Now, whether or not the road is passable is a totally different story. What led us to the road.
But some of that road is far back. The cemetery is always before that.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. There's a whole separate statute that covers cemeteries. That landowners cannot, doesn't matter what they try to do, they cannot refuse access to the cemetery.
So what should we do?
But if we're being blocked from access, that's different than I can't get it.
There's a gate.
So if they're being blocked, then they can hire an attorney and sue under that statute. They have that ability to do that. Or have that ability to do that. That gate's been there since 2018. It's been a long time. It's been in a position to consent right now.
I want to figure out a way to address this because those two cemeteries could be access. The family members of value.
And like I said, the statute they have.
Yeah, and I understand, like I said, you said they own it now, they saw a special master ruler. And I think some of those residents around there need the special master's ruler, asking for this.
Last week. Yes, French.
No, I'm asking how to do it. And you can know what, and I can provide it. Because I have questions from you. Form and that we was going to the police. And now I got some constituents, good people who want to get out, to see what level is living. So that's a issue we need to address.
So those constituents have to show up for the representative that they have. I think that was an opportunity. That's why the statute is stated within the process to make sure anyone that's in that area utilizes and understands that road is an opportunity to go forward and state the reason for the road not to
The fire department stayed for wide road show. Because of emergency access, they didn't stop the road from the code. So now the issue is how do we help out the constituents? We have family members buried in the cemetery, the access to the cemetery.
whether or not council wants to take up that measure is completely within y'all's discretion.
My memory serves me well.
The gate is right up towards Blue 78.
Each of that, well, we're gonna have, what can we do?
Right, sir?
If my memory serves me well. We had
It's because the reason we can't do anything is because we disowned it or refuse to fix it, is the reason why we can't now. Because when this thing first started, about this road here, we asked the question about, can the people get in and out? Cause like we was known, it's not my area, it's he really can tell you about. And I don't really know the total geographic or how they go in and out, where they need to go, but it has been a lot of concern about this road. But in another sense, they can't just be closed off and they can't get in and can't get out. Whether it be because we didn't do the inform ourselves, the clarity of what all took place on this road, I don't know. I didn't know grades was on this road, all I assumed people stayed on it.
First, inkling of information I've had, as much as I've been involved in this, but cemetery didn't have just that. That's the first time I've heard. So all you took action, the lake, to decide what we were going to do about that road based on the information that we had. There's no information that was provided about cemetery. The only thing that was talked about was the power line down the road. That was it. No thing that came up. There was 2 or 3, I believe, public hearings that were held, folks to come forward and comment. That road, one person, that was it. So it's up to the judge. It really still wasn't, even at that point, it wasn't up to the county to decide whether or not this happened. When you start that road closure litigation, as the litigation proceeding, it's up to the judge to make that declaration as to whether it's closed or not. All we would have had the opportunity to say, Judge, we don't need it closed because of this reason, this reason, or this reason. As we numerous times discussed in the session. The reason why we didn't go down that road that we really didn't need to is it was $1 million to replace the road. We don't have that. Well, it was more than that in the whole way. Just to get it to a stable, base, it was going to be $1 million. And it's not a road where there's a lot of activity, obviously, because nobody showed up to the hearings for more. That was it. So I would love to say we can go back and open that kind of worms, but we can't.
Well, a judge didn't make the special last we did.
It's the same thing as a judge. And that,
Okay, so the judge,
context of the judge.
so the judge would have a date for being open, so that people could participate or at least attend hearings.
No, sir.
No.
No, not that. But when you get to the road closure hearing itself, the parties to the action are the ones that are entitled to, not just John, general public taxpayer. That's what all of the lead up is. There are signs that get posted for months prior to the hearing.
Well, those signs.
This particular case, it actually happened twice because they did it and then DNR decided to include their property into it as well. So it happened actually twice. So it was 6 or 7, 8 months worth of notice with signs and then those public hearings on top.
Well, the members of the fire department called me, so they never saw it or something.
I had pictures of it.
I like to see. Okay, I trust those guys. They didn't see them, but they were so. But we need to figure out, so.
Yeah, that's totally up to discretion. Council. Council wants to go down that road and hire an attorney to fight that battle. We can do that. Yes, sir.
Senator Williams,
Yes,
there
sir.
are some grants coming up that we need to jump on top of, some due dates. I think there's a couple of grants coming up in early spring that get to a couple of participate on the call event. Some long term, some short term, including some of that the federal money has to go back by the end of this year. 1.4 billion.
Yeah, that information.
We can get to so we can get on top of some of it requires some actual funds. So we
This is federal money with
federal and state.
Federal and state.
Federal and state. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, we can have that conversation with the office of those areas. We need to do. Let's talk about it.
Now, Mr. McKay, Jeff McKay, President Lisa, on a great event last night. some of our state senators and representatives. So about a few years in that service. So thank you for that. I think you're cool.
On this street, I got it, was so what?
On that Saturday, I had some birthday party, Simmons, she turned 100 years of age on Saturday. She's a retired fisherman. Very well known throughout the community, Marion County, City of Marion, Nevada. Not like the constable passed away.
So moved.
The motion got a second discussion. All fair to aye.
Aye.
Full right rise, ayes have it. Second.
Mr. Chairman, what was her name again?
Ellen Simmons.
Ellen Cotella.
I would think that we would want to recognize the chairman or the president of NISA, as he is here, he has done so much.
Executive director.
Executive, you didn't want to mess up again. But he has worked diligently. How many years? Yeah. More than 20. And it meant so much to the PD area and the whole group that we have. Thank you so much. Thank y'all.
Going back to Pit Limemore Road. It's canceled. We voted 6-1, I think. Not to do repair work that needs to be done to that road. Because it wasn't $1 million, if I remember right, it was $2 million. Or over $2 million. And there's another ingress to get in there, you gotta go down the road.
Mr. Vice Chair, and part of doing it was not to pursue our legal rights against the people who cause structural damage that made the road wash out. We dug closer to the road than it was supposed to just so we could move. When the storm came, that part was washed out. And so we had to address your concerns, your legal concerns, and have a redress and have the company that caused that problem to fix the road. And we're going to go that direction in order to allow the road to be closed. And the power company has the egress still, the power line running out of that road into the getting back there. It's faster for emergency services to get down there to where those communities are. On that road, it goes all the way down to the. And there's some water issue of flooding issues on out in that section where the road, the original road in Carolina is higher than the current road that gives access back. Any more comments? Regular session, personnel, county administrator. Got a motion to accept the discussion. Give your eye. Aye. Likewise. Went into executive session, no action is taken, the motion to come out of executive session. So, motion to accept the discussion. All fair to aye. Aye. Likewise. That's like. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, if I could ask you to approve the employment agreement with Fred at the top. You have been considering for Mr. David Crotts. And then with that approval of that, officially appoint him as county administrator.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion, got a second in discussion. Show of hands. Chris, aye.
Aye, congratulations.
Show likewise.
That's all I have.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Got a second.